I don't usually listen in on other people's conversations and have no idea what possessed me to listen in on this one. It was Sunday afternoon, and I was in the basement working on the hot water heater when I heard the phone ring. I didn't know what my wife, Janet, was doing at the time, and since the basement phone was closed, I picked it up. Before I could say anything, I heard my wife on the upstairs extension. "Gary, you shouldn't have called here. What if John had answered the phone?" I would have just told him it was work-related. Don't be such a worrywart. I just wanted to let you know that everything is set up for tomorrow. We will be at the Desca Motel in room 117. Get there at about 1 p.m. sharp. I'll have a bottle of wine chilling and some fresh strawberries. Don't forget to wear that black silk underwear you said you had. "Okay, just so nobody sees us leave work or come back together," Janet replied. "You sound a little nervous. Are you having second thoughts about this?" No. Everything is okay. It's just that I am a little scared. I never did anything like this before, and it is only natural that I should be worried. I am not going to change my mind. Everything will be fine, I promise. Okay, but if John ever found out about this, I would kill myself. I got to go before he overhears something. See you tomorrow at 1 p.m. sharp. Bye. I hung up the phone just as they did and sat there for about 10 minutes, running the whole conversation over and over in my head. Why the hell did I have to pick up that damn phone? Janet and I had grown up together. We were married a year after we graduated from high school. She was the only girl I ever had sex with, and I assumed I was the only one she ever had sex with. She was still good looking and still had a nice figure. We had one son, Terry, who was a senior in high school. We didn't have many friends, and our whole life was spent with each other. I thought everything was fine between us, but apparently I was mistaken. I decided I didn't need to drain the hot water heater after all. There was some beer in the basement refrigerator. That helped to ease my pain. I figured I had 3 options. I could confront her straight on and cause a big emotional scene. I didn't like that one. Second, I could drop a few hints or clues or make some remarks that would lead her to believe I was suspicious. That was a little more attractive to me than the first option, but I figured that it would just delay things to a later date when I might not be aware of it happening. The third option was to just let her go through with it. I liked that last one with a slight modification. I decided to let everything happen as planned, but at the last minute I would give her an out. If she took it, fine. If not, I would have to attack. There were also 3 ways she could go. Maybe, if I were lucky, she would just change her mind and back out. The second would be to take advantage of the last chance I would give her. The last option she had was to go through with it. As much as I hated to admit it, that seemed like the most likely to happen. Okay, now that I sorted that out, I was ready to plan my attack. It was looking as if I could make a game out of it, and the more I thought about it, the more excited I became. After supper, I would start some serious plotting. First, I had to gather information, and then get the game plan laid out. I worked for a security systems firm for almost 20 years. They had been after me for the last year to take over the Huntsville, Alabama office, but Janet did not want to move. Janet worked for an insurance company for the last 10 years. She was doing well, but I never liked the guy she worked with, Gary Simmons. I know now that my suspicions were well-founded. Gary was married, and his wife seemed nice enough. I was upset that he wanted mine too. The move to Alabama would have been a good one for Terry, because he had his heart set on going to Auburn. The resident tuition was a lot more affordable than the non-resident tuition. While we were eating supper, I decided that I was going to take the Huntsville position. It didn't matter what the outcome was the next day. I was still going to move. I would be able to file a declaration of domicile when I got there, and there would be enough time so Terry would be able to pay resident tuition when he started school. I didn't feel it was necessary to say anything to Janet at this point, but decided to mention something to Terry after supper. I would give notice at work the next morning and could be on my way as soon as I got packed. Having that settled in my mind made the rest of the plans easier. Terry and I got along fine, and when I explained that I was going to go down to Alabama ahead of the rest of the family, he thought it was a good idea. He agreed not to mention it to his mother. I did not say anything to him about his mother's plans for the next day. I still hadn't figured out exactly what I was going to do, but I was sure everything would come together before the night was over. I told Janet I had to go to Home Depot for some stuff and took off. The first purchase was a throwaway cell phone with a 60-minute calling card. I was going to be making lots of calls, and some of them I didn't want traced. I stopped by my favorite watering hole to see if I could get some help from old school friends who were less than respectable. It cost me $400 to buy 2 big bags of crappy grass. My old school chum Benny told me I was taking a big chance buying that much because I could be charged with dealing. I told him that was exactly what I was counting on. I borrowed a car door from Jimmy Rod before leaving. One of the guys in the bar that I didn't really know was Wolf Fraser. He was a mean son of a bitch, and everybody stayed away from him if they could help it. He drove a Corvette, and I noticed it in the parking lot as I went out. I got a screwdriver from my car, and in less than a minute I had Wolfie's license plate. I knew where he worked, so I could call him in the morning. Next came a trip to the Desca Motel. I stopped in the lobby, looked over the rack of tourist attractions and restaurants, and took what I needed. The clerk gave me some info about the motel, including a map and the phone numbers for housekeeping and room service. Time to go home. Janet was watching TV when I got there. I told her I had some work to do in the office, and she said she was going to shower and go to bed early because she had a big day tomorrow. While Janet was in the shower, I opened her briefcase and took out her planner and telephone notebook. I spent the next half hour writing down names and phone numbers. Then came the tedious part. I had to enter all the phone numbers in the speed dial on the throwaway phone, and on my own phone. I had a few more numbers to look up in the telephone book before I was done. It looked like I had everything ready when I finally crashed on the couch in the office. It was a rough night trying to sleep. I kept thinking of what Janet was going to do, and wondered what I had done wrong that made her want to do it. By the time I fell asleep, I had myself convinced it was my fault, and that I had failed somewhere, somehow. Morning came, and I had mixed emotions. I made coffee and set the breakfast table. Janet came down and looked great. "You look awful good today. Is it a special day at the office?" I asked. "What do you mean? I always look good." "I know. I was just pulling your chain a little." We read the paper while we ate. The morning conversation was less than normal, but not enough to make a comment about. I couldn't tell if she was nervous or anxious. "I have a lot of running around to do today. I might be a little late for supper," I said. "That's okay. I'll make something that will hold till you get home." "Is there anything special you might want?" "No. Whatever is handy will be fine." It was a pathetic attempt to make small talk on our part. She knew what she was going to be doing, and I knew what she was going to be doing, and we were both walking on eggs. I got to work early and made all the arrangements for my transfer to Huntsville. After signing all the proper papers and cleaning out my desk, I stopped by a divorce attorney's office. I got the forms and information I would need to file for the divorce if my last attempt did not work. I went home and packed all my clothes and loaded them in the car, pulled the hard drive off my computer, and took all the files and documents that I felt I might need. Most of our savings and investments had been shifted into valuable coins, which I also took. The banks were open by this time, so I cancelled the accounts and credit cards. I realized that I was being premature on a lot of this, but didn't have much faith in the possibility of a change of heart on her part. I stopped by a florist and ordered a dozen red roses to be delivered precisely at 1:15. All the time this was going on, I had been checking my watch. The timing was going to be important. At about 12:30, I went to the motel and got a good parking spot where I couldn't be seen but would have a clear view of the room. I carefully got everything arranged on the front car seat. Finally, Gary arrived. He got out of his car with a grocery bag that I assumed had the strawberries, a bottle of wine, and who knows what else. He went straight to the room and then came back out and filled the room ice bucket. As he prepared the room, I started my phone calls. First was Pizza Hut. Hello. I would like one large pepperoni pizza to be delivered to room 117 at the Desca Motel. I might be taking a shower, so make sure the guy knocks loud and long enough for me to hear him. 20 minutes is fine, thanks. Second was a call to Papa John, followed by Domino and Godfather's Pizza. The fifth call went to the Golden Dragon, where I ordered egg rolls and sweet and sour pork. I assumed that half of these would call back to verify the order, but that was all right because the effect would be the same. Janet hadn't arrived yet, so the next call went to the motel housekeeping, where I requested some additional towels and another ice bucket. I figured it would about 15 minutes for them to deliver them. At last, my loving wife pulled into the parking lot. She went down to the end of the building so her car would not be too conspicuous. She left the car carrying a small overnight bag. When she got about 20 feet from the door, I called her on my speed dial. "Hi, honey. It's just me." "John, is something wrong? You don't usually call me at work in the middle of the day." "I was thinking about you, and I just wanted to call and tell you that I love you." "Oh, John, that's sweet. I love you too." "Okay, I'll let you get back to work. I'll see you later." "Goodbye, John, and thanks for the call." Janet hung up the cell phone, turned around, and walked into the motel room. That was her last chance, and she made her decision. A tear swelled up in my eye as I resumed my telephone blitz. Phone call number 7 went to the local TV station. "Hi, is this WWC-TV? There is something funny going on at the Desca Motel. If you have a truck nearby, you might want to swing by and check it out. No, I don't know what it is, but the cops are on the way. Oak, thanks." Call number 8 was coming up as I walked over to Gary's car. Luckily, he had parked in a spot where I wouldn't be noticed as I replaced his license plate with the one from Wolfie's Corvette. As I was walking over, I called Janet's office. She had a 3 o'clock appointment with somebody named Rob Kelly. "Hi, this is Rob Kelly. I had an appointment with Janet Martin for 3, but I have to move it up. Can you please have her call me as soon as possible at 9614452? I tried to get her on her cell, but it was busy. As soon as possible, please." The number was a recorded telephone ad for a law firm that specializes in divorces. I threw Gary's license plate under his car after I put the new one on. Then I walked down to Janet's car and moved it to the back of the motel. While I was walking back to my car, I dialed the next number. "Hello, Mrs. Simmons. Your husband asked me to give you a call. He is having car problems and needs you to pick him up right away. He is at the Desca Motel, room 117. You could give him a call on his cell phone, or just call the room. The number is 961 7700, extension 117. Didn't call you? It looks like he is meeting a client, a pretty one too. Bye." Call 10 went to Acme Welding, where I asked Wolfie's boss to tell him a white Honda in the Desca Motel parking lot had Wolfie's license plate on it. The next call went to the police, where I reported 2 kids changing a license plate on a car in the parking lot. I mentioned that something didn't look right and just asked them to check it out. I gave them Wolfie's license number. The first pizza guy came to the room. It looked like there was an argument, but Gary paid him and he left. Call 12 was to Janet's mother. Hi Mom, it's John. I don't have a lot of time. Janet is in a motel room having sex with a man she works with. Would you please call her and ask her to reconsider what she is doing? No, I can't talk about it now. You have her cell phone number, and if you can't get her there, try the motel. It's 961 7000 700 extension 100 extension 100 extension 117. I know, it's a sorry thing, but I have to go. Please make the call now. Bye. 2 more pizza guys showed up in the room. The same time the maid came with more towels. There was a lot of discussion at the door again, but after a few minutes, they all left. The next call was to the motel. This is Mr. Simmons in 117. My bathroom sink is leaking at the bottom of the faucet, and the water on the floor is starting to get on the rug. Can you send someone over right away? Thank you. A big Harley roared into the parking lot, cruising and slowing down the line of cars. Wolfie stopped right behind Gary's car, but before he could do anything, a black and white pulled up. The biker and the cop were having a heated discussion as I made my next phone call. Mr. Granger, this is John Martin. My wife Janet works for you. Yes, thank you. I am glad she is a good worker. However, right now she is at the Desca Motel in room 117 with Gary Simmons, who also works for you. They are there having sex as we speak. Yes, I am sure. You have a company policy against this sort of thing. Is that right? I am sure you have their cell phone numbers. Would you please call them to verify or deny this? If you can't get through, call the motel. It is 961 7000 700 extension 100 extension 117. I don't want my wife working for your company anymore, Mr. Granger, and would appreciate it if you would let her go. If it is a violation of policy, maybe Mr. Simmons should also be let go. No, I am sorry I had to notify you. Thank you for your time. Bye. There was an Oriental restaurant delivery man at the door to the motel. The cop was going over to the room, and Wolfie was waving his arms and yelling as he walked with him. Call number 15 went to Janet's sister. Hello, Nancy. This is John. How are you? Hey, I am having a little problem right now. Janet is in a motel room, having sex with a guy she works with, and I am on my way home to get my Ruger. I am going to go back and shoot them both, but I don't want the police or reporters to find Janet with no clothes on. Could you please call Janet and tell her to get dressed before I get back there? I really would appreciate it. She is at the Desca Motel room, 117. If you can't get her on her cell, call the room. By the way, I moved her car to the back of the motel. She might not be able to drive. You know, maybe you should just drive over there and pick her up. If you get there before I do, you might want to drive her home. No, sorry, I can't talk now. Thanks for your help. Call as soon as you can, okay? The action at the door of the motel was hot and heavy. The maintenance guy just showed up to fix the sink. The delivery guy was trying to get paid while Wolfie and the cop were talking to Gary. The florist was at the door trying to deliver the roses, but wasn't having much luck. It was time for me to leave. My work here was done. I passed the TV crew as I was leaving. I still had 2 bags of grass in the car that I didn't know what to do with. I was going to plant them in Gary's car, but had second thoughts about it. I tossed the cell phone and the grass in the river on the way home. I stopped by the house just long enough to say goodbye to Terry. I told him I would keep in touch and not give his mother a hard time the next couple of days. I would have given anything to know what was going on in that motel room over the last hour. As I was leaving town, I made one more call. I wasn't sure I would get through, but I tried just in case I got lucky. Hi, Gary Simmons. This is John Martin. Just wanted to let you know that if you lay one hand on my wife, I will rip off your balls and jam them down your throat. Do you understand? There was a weak answer at the other end. Yes, I understand. I hung up the phone and hit the interstate. About 8 hours later, my cell rang. Caller ID showed it was Janet. Hello? John, where are you? Janet asked. I'm on 81, just outside of Knoxville. Why? John, what is going on? We have to talk. We don't have anything to talk about, Janet. Please, John, talk to me, Janet cried. Janet, I will ask you 3 questions, okay? Give me straight answers to all 3, and then we can talk. Okay, she replied. What did I say to you when I called you on your cell phone today? You said, I love you, Janet replied. What did you do after you hung up the cell phone? There was a short pause. I went into the motel room. Why did you go into the motel room? I asked. There was no answer. Janet, answer me. For what purpose did you go into the motel room? There was another pause. John, I don't want to answer that. Goodbye, Janet, I replied. I hung up the cell phone and turned it off. I wouldn't need it for the rest of the trip. Since the company was picking up all the expenses for moving, I got myself a fairly nice motel room and had a great supper. I had to establish residency quickly, so I spent the next 2 days looking for an apartment. It was easy to get something nice and reasonable because I wasn't too particular. New phone service and a mailing address were next. I changed the title of the car and got a new driver's license. I registered to vote, and then I filled out the declaration of domicile. I mailed in all the papers to get the divorce started. Things went pretty smoothly, and I was soon ready to start my new job. I called Terry and gave him my new cell number. I asked him not to give it to his mother, but told him I would understand if she pressured him. He didn't think it would be a problem. He said she had lost her job and was very depressed. I asked if they needed anything, and he said they were fine. Terry was my only real contact with the old place. A few weeks later, he said Janet got the divorce papers from the lawyer. She just signed them and sent them back the same day. He didn't think she even read them. She stopped wearing makeup and started to sell off a lot of her clothes and jewelry. She would have a yard sale every other week and was selling anything that wasn't nailed down. I had given the lawyer a power of attorney so that she could sell the house whenever she wanted to. I didn't want anything from the sale. She took a job at a bakery that was close to the house. Just before Terry finished high school, Janet put the house on the market. She had priced it so low that it sold almost immediately. The sale was conditional on her and Terry staying in the house till Terry graduated. The buyers readily agreed. Janet found an apartment within walking distance of the bakery and gave Terry the car to take with him to college. It was a small second-floor flat, and any furniture that she didn't need she left with the house. Terry helped her move and then left for Auburn. By this time, she had gotten rid of almost everything that was in the old house. Terry said the apartment was like a monk's room in a monastery. While his mother had never denied him anything, she was depriving herself of everything. I could tell he was worried about her. 4 years passed quickly. It was a 4 hours drive to Auburn from my place, and I didn't get to see much of my son. He was busy with school and his friends, and I was spending way much time with my work. Janet had the title company send me a check after the sale of the house. It was for the entire amount. She kept nothing. I cashed it and put it in a folder I set aside for her. I bought a small house and spent most of my time doing fix-up and improvement type things. I didn't date or see anyone socially. I just wasn't interested. I longed for companionship, but was not interested in getting close to anyone. Graduation day came, and I drove down to watch my son get his diploma. We had assigned seats for the ceremony, and Janet had the one next to me. I was glad to see her, even after the way we separated. She looked good, but tired. She was a little older, and the lack of makeup and grooming made her seem a little sad. We smiled at each other and said hello. They were just starting to hand out the sheepskins, so there wasn't any time for small talk. I don't think either one of us knew what to say anyhow. It was all over too soon. The awkwardness of the moment was interrupted when Terry came over to see us. He was excited about getting his degree and was talking a mile a minute. It was great watching him enjoy his moment of glory. A few of his friends came over and introduced themselves, and then the whole bunch of them took off for Gulf Shores to celebrate. Janet and I were left with each other. "How did you get here?" I was trying to break the ice. "Bus. I have a round-trip ticket and have to get back to the station by 6. Can you give me a lift?" "No problem. How soon do you have to be back?" "I took a week off, but I can't stay here. I guess I will go back tonight and spend the rest of the week painting my apartment." "Sounds like fun." "What's my alternative?" she laughed. "You could stay a few days at my place. I could even drive you back home from there if you'd like. It's better than the bus." "Anything is better than the bus. I don't think going to your place would be a good idea, though. It would be too difficult for both of us." "We never did talk. I was mad at the time and cut you off. I didn't give you a chance to explain anything, and over the last few years, I felt bad about that." "You mean you want me to tell you about what happened now, after our lives have been destroyed?" "Is it too late?" "I think so. What can I say to you now that will make things right? You wouldn't listen then. Why would you listen now?" "I can't answer that. Even if we don't get to talk, I think I would still enjoy your company for a few days. Are you sure you can't spare some time? I took a week's vacation also. Do you have any luggage?" "No, just what I am wearing. I wasn't planning on staying overnight." "We'll stop at Walmart and I'll get you a couple of changes of clothes and you'll be all set. It's a 4-hour drive and I would really like to have the company. I can't envision any good coming from this, but I'll give it a try if you do anything at all to upset me. I promise I will walk away without giving it a second thought." "Fair enough. My car is over this way." For the first few miles, we didn't say anything. We got off near Birmingham, and I got her some underwear, slacks, and a few tops. I also talked her into a pair of sneakers, but she refused to buy any makeup. I didn't push it, just hinted. A little further up the road we had supper at a Cracker Barrel. We were moving along up I-65 at a good clip when she opened up. "To have sex." I looked over at her. What to have sex? "The answer to your last question was to have sex. I couldn't say it when you asked me on that day. I don't know why. Either I was too embarrassed or I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I just couldn't bring myself to say it out loud. After you hung up, I realized that you already knew, and it was stupid of me to deny it. I tried to call you back, but you turned your cell phone off. I knew then that my life had ended." "You broke my heart," I replied. "I know, and I don't know how to make it right. I have laid awake so many nights trying to figure out how to make up for it, and can't come up with a thing. After a few years, I decided that there was nothing that I could do to make things better." I couldn't think of anything to say. She seemed doing fine on her own. "If you knew what was going on, why didn't you stop it?" "I couldn't stop it. Only you could do that." "You could have said something." "No. If you had known that I knew, you would have not done it for the wrong reasons. Knowing that you were caught or might be caught was not a good reason for you to not go through with it. You had to stop it because you knew it was wrong, not because you were going to get caught. Am I making sense here?" "Yes, you are, but I still wish you would have said something." "I did. The last phone call." "You mean the one where you said you loved me?" "That's right. I felt that I gave you the opportunity to stop before you got started. I gave you the chance to make the decision. It was a test, and I failed it. I was so stupid." "I won't debate that." "Did you love him?" I asked. "Gary? Heavens no. Gary loved his wife as much as I loved you. We were just friends." "I don't understand. Was it lust or what?" "Gosh, no. It was nothing like that at all. It was more platonic than anything else. Gary and I were just friends. We had no desires whatsoever of making our relationship anything more than that." "Well, how the hell did the two of you end up going to a motel to have sex?" I asked. It's a long story. We still have an hour till we get to Huntsville. Gary and I worked together for almost a year. We talked about a lot of different things over time. One of the things that came up was sex. During our conversation, it came to light that neither one of us had ever had sex with anyone other than our spouses. We weren't complaining about having sex with our spouses because both of us were happy with things as they were, but we did become curious. The more we talked about it, the more comfortable we became with it. I don't know which one of us brought it up, but we finally started discussing the probability of having sex with each other just to see what it would be like. No strings attached, and it would be a one-time deal. It was more like two adults playing doctor, or maybe like, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that is how it all came about. Did you ever think what the downside of this might be? Never occurred to either of us. We had gotten to the point where doing it was going to be just about like going to the movies together. I don't know about Gary, but I didn't think you would ever find out about it, so you wouldn't be hurt. I was wrong. I am so sorry. How did Gary's wife take it? She was going to divorce him. I went to see her and explained everything to her, just like I did to you. She didn't go through with the divorce, but I don't think their marriage was ever the same again. Gary was fired when I was, but he protested it. It went to an arbitration board. He claimed he didn't violate company policy because we never had sex. The board didn't buy it. They moved to Baltimore and I never saw them again. I was glad when we arrived at the house. The conversation we had was long overdue and it was a little stressful. Some of it was hard for me to hear. I put Janet in my bedroom and I took the guest room. After making sure that she had everything she needed, I said goodnight. Tomorrow there will be more conversation. I hoped it would be more pleasant than the talk we had today. The next morning she had breakfast waiting for me. The first time in a long time that I didn't have to get my own. So tell me about the sex with Gary, I asked. You son of a bitch. You know there was no sex and you also know why. I guess I ruined a romantic afternoon for you. Get real. You know the situation, and even though he brought wine and strawberries, it was not a romantic get-together. Don't make it worse than it was. Well, did you guys do anything? Oh yeah, we answered a dozen telephone calls, and we answered another dozen knocks on the door. Some nasty bastard had everybody and their brother either calling us or knocking on the door. The closest we got to sex was when I took my shoes off. You didn't have a good time? I asked. It was the most miserable half hour I ever spent in my whole life. While that biker was trying to get in the room to grab Gary, I was able to sneak out. When I saw my car was gone, I started to cry. Just then, Nancy pulled up. You called my sister, and worse than that, you called my mother. She still isn't speaking to me. I'm sorry if I ruined something that was so important to you. I accept full blame for what I did. It was a rotten thing to do. Oh no you don't. The blame is all mine, and if you think you can jump in here 5 years later and take credit for everything that happened, you are crazy. It was my doing. It was my fault. I am to blame, and don't you ever try and take that away from me. I didn't wallow in misery for all these years just so you could pull it out from under me. I still feel partially responsible and should assume some of the blame. Don't do it. When I went into that motel room, I lost all my self-respect. I will never be able to get that back. At least when you made your phone calls, you saved my virtue. I still have that, and I thank you for it every day. I only wish there would have been a way for you to do something earlier, but I understand now why you couldn't. It is a sad thing, John. I love you, and I have always loved you. I didn't want to hurt you, and for that, I am truly sorry. I won't ask your forgiveness because I don't feel that I deserve it. Losing your love and trust has hurt me more than anything else you could do to me. Janet, you never lost my love, I replied. I am glad to hear that, John, But what about the trust? Sorry, that's gone. I don't know how I can ever get it back. I understand, and that is only fair. What are we going to do for lunch? How about sushi? Sounds great. Are my clothes okay? We had a good time that afternoon. After lunch, we did a little more shopping to get Janet some outfits that didn't make her look like a nun. I even got her to buy a little lip gloss, but nothing too dramatic. We had a light supper, soup and some cheese and crackers, and then we sat down with a nice glass of wine. It was nice to see Janet returning to her old self. The more time we spent talking, the more comfortable she seemed. Are we going to have sex tonight, John? I don't know. I still have some issues. What issues? She asked. Well, I am afraid that if we make love, that I might be thinking about you and Gary the whole time. I am a little anxious because I don't know how it will go. That's bullshit and you know it. Well, how would you know? I asked. I'll tell you how I would know. About 30 years ago, when we first started going together, you told me that every time you jerked off, you fantasized about Pam Kramer, the cheerleader. Do you remember that? Did I really tell you that? Yes, you sure did. And every time that we had sex for the next 4 or 5 years, all I could think about was that you were having sex with me and thinking about Pam Kramer. You are kidding, right? I replied. No, damn it. I am not kidding. Now the shoe is on the other foot and you can't handle it. I had to put up with it and I don't see why you can't. Well, whom do you think about when you masturbate? That's none of your business. Come on, we all fantasize. Who is your dream lover? Okay, most of the time it is you, even after we separated. What do you mean most of the time? Who is it the rest of the time? You really want to know? You aren't going to laugh? No, I promise I won't laugh. Mel Gibson. You are kidding! No, I am not. I have always dreamt about having sex with Mel Gibson, and I don't think there is anything abnormal about that. He is a very desirable guy. Which brings up another question. For the last 5 years, whom have you fantasized about while you were getting rid of your tensions? Mostly you. I still think about you a lot. Same question back at you. What do you mean mostly? Well, sometimes I think of Gary and you together. You sick son of a bitch. You fantasize about Gary and me having sex so you can get your jollies off. That sucks. Not exactly. After your tryst, I wondered why you would want to have sex with Gary. I didn't have any answers, so I assumed that he was a better lover than I was. I was sure that I had failed as a partner in some way, and I convinced myself that you were looking to upgrade. I used to think about how he would please you and bring you to orgasm after orgasm. After a while, I found myself getting excited, not thinking about Gary having sex with you, but about you having great climaxes. I found it erotic that you were getting pleasured and blocked out the fact that it was with another man, even in my fantasies. Okay, we're even. Now deal with it. I am going to take a shower, and after that, we are going to have sex. You can think about Pam Kramer, and I am going to think about Mel Gibson. It's settled. Tomorrow morning, we are going to go and get my stuff, and I am going to move in with you. Can you handle it? Are we going to get married? No, I can't marry a man who doesn't trust me. Maybe in a couple of years, we will talk about it again. Oh, I see. You want to stay single, just in case another guy like Gary shows up. Bastard. One more remark like that, and I'll smack you upside the head. Now go disconnect the phones. I don't want to be interrupted. It only took about an hour to load her stuff in the car. Terry was right. She really did get rid of almost everything. She sold the furniture that was left to the landlord for $200. As I finished loading the car, she went over to the bakery and told them she was leaving. Shortly after that, we were on the interstate heading south. I looked over at her, and we both smiled. I have just one more question, and I won't bring it up again. Okay, what is it? Where the hell did you get a Mel Gibson poster? That's the end of this story. If you found it engaging, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.